yes, we do emphasis on how affordability, accessibility, and yet quality can come hand in hand and then cater to the clientele base.
I never knew that I was so inclined towards marketing. Yeah, I always wanted to be a pilot.
Wow.
Yeah, I was always a Deshbhakt. I wanted to join the armed forces.
Okay.
But then later on, I realized I'm not equipped for that because I had to wear specs, and in the Air Force they do not take people with specs.
You anyways flying with your current career.
The new founders, the new entrepreneurs, what should their approach be to maintain a healthy environment at workplace?
Walk the talk, because many of them play a strong leadership values only through their words, but not through their actions. And I think your actions and your values need to be in alignment with each other.
Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond Real Boundaries. I'm Sukriti, your host. A lot of times we come across a wall, which is at times an illusion and at times very real, that we need to cross with our aspirations, dedication, and the right mindset. We have here with us Mrs. Nikunja Gujar, who is a renowned psychologist, and she's the founder of Emoticons India. Let's hear it from her how she has crossed her boundaries to achieve her dreams. Hi, Nikunja.
Hi, Sukriti.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here.
So I have known you for a while, so I don't need an introduction.
Correct.
But my audience does.
Okay. So yes, I'm a psychologist and I'm passionate about transforming how people approach and view mental health. And personally speaking, I believe in myself and look at myself as a very resilient person, someone who is trying to turn her dreams into the plans. And a fun-loving, lighthearted, and also with a strong mindset.
Ever since I've known you, it has always been a question for me. How did you think of pursuing a career in psychology? Because we all love the subject, right? We all relate to it so much. But we never think of pursuing a career in psychology. So how did you decide to do that?
So as you said rightly that, it's an interesting subject, and who doesn't get fascinated about the subject like psychology, right? However, couple of things which were really intriguing me, or something which was really interesting, is how the smallest act of listening can really create a great impact, right? So as a psychologist, we are in the mode where we have to be into the active listening zone, and that was something which fascinated me. Along the side, when you talk about psychology, I think it's majorly about the three words is what I always say. One is your emotions, one is your behaviors, and one is your thought, right? So it is interesting to see how a small human mind and a brain can hold thousands of thoughts, and how one individual can have different emotions within the span of a short while. Somebody may feel angry and just next minute, they might also be laughing and smiling.
Right.
So these different kind of variations in your moods also was fascinating to me to see what human beings go through. So this was one of the interesting aspect that I noticed back when I was doing my grads in psychology. And then later, I think also another thing which not many people know is I was always interested into acting.
Okay.
And I also did a little bit of my not career, but let's say some passionate work into field of theater and acting.
Right.
And that time I had happened to see somebody's interview, celebrity's interview, who mentioned that she also had psychology as one of her subjects, and how psychology as a subject helped her into the field of acting. So it helped her understand the human emotions, the expressions, and how the body language and all of a person work. So that was very underlying reason also there for me, because I always wanted to pursue my career into acting too. Well, I don't regret that, but yes, that became another motivation. Like, I want to really get into psychology to understand human beings better, and to help them in the field that it is. And I think then the entrepreneurial mindset came in the picture, where I realized that there is more of a demand, but less of a supply. Where the support is required more, but accessibility of it is less. So I later ventured into an organization, Emoticons India,
Right.
which is a mental health organization providing number of services to cater different kinds of needs of integration.
I agree. So we all have certain external sources where we get our inspiration from.
Correct.
I never knew that I was so inclined towards marketing. Yeah. I always wanted to be a pilot.
Wow.
Yeah. I was always a Deshbhakt. Though I wanted to join the armed forces.
Okay.
But then later on I realized I'm not equipped for that
Mm-hmm.
because I had to wear specs, and in an force they do not take people with specs.
You anyways flying with your current career.
Thanks a lot. But then again, I thought coding was my passion.
Okay.
I was a coder for a while. I do still code, but then I realized, I think the seed of marketing in me was planted when I was very small. When I was watching this ad from Dhara, the Jalebi ad.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So that was always there that I want to tell a story that people will like to come back to and keep listening to it. So that was my motivation for marketing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I did not know that was my motivation, but when I look back, that was.
I think I agree. Like when you sometimes go forward, you may not really make sense.
Yeah.
When you look back, the dots start getting connected.
Right.
So fantastic. Nice. Great. Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is again a huge thing. All right. It takes a lot of guts and a good support system to start something that you want to. Right. So I would really like to understand your journey. Like, how did you take up? So we know how you took up psychology. Why did you think of starting psychology, and that also in a time where mental health was not spoken that much about in the society?
Correct. I think you partially answered my question that at that time, which is almost, let's say, 10 years ago, mental health was, the word in itself was whispered. It was not really talked out loud.
Right.
But as you could see that there was always a scope and there was always a need. It's just that the need was not really addressed and the need analysis was not really done well.
Right.
Or even if it was done, but people were silent about it.
Yeah.
So which means there was a lot of stigma, there was a lot of taboo. And I wouldn't really say that there was a problem with the society around it, because that is how the culture has been for us, like
Right.
if you have to go to the mental health professional, that means जो हिंदी में बोलते हैं कि पागल हो क्या, so you are mad and that's the reason you would need to go to the mental health professional. But I felt that this is the time when we need to start breaking that stigma. Right. And I had to also start breaking that stigma right from my family. Like in my own family, indirect family, extended family, I could see that there were challenges which people would talk, but not with the profession. And I felt it's important, like for everyone to understand, and I still advocated that if you have any sort of, let's say, medical ailment, you wouldn't go to a family member and talk to them about it. You would go to a professional doctor because you know he's the one who's going to help you right away. Similarly, if you have certain mental elements, maybe your first person to go to, yes, could be your very close friend. But if it is beyond his or her capacity to deal with, then I think nobody should really hesitate going to the mental health professional.
Well.
And I felt like how I got into the business aspect of it, because I thought therapy, which is usually what is associated with psychology, but psychology is just beyond therapy also, is what I believe. That therapy is one aspect, but there are a lot of other ways one can spread awareness, normalize this concept of mental health, because all of us do have mental health. The way we say that take care, our focus goes on physical health. Make sure you don't fall sick, right? And that sickness is make sure you're correct physically. But how about my take care also comes with take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay even if you feel negative emotions, but make sure you don't really fall into them and remain into those negative emotions for a long period.
Yeah.
So these ideas actually started coming to my mind back then. And I felt, I wish I can also talk about it openly. So why not create a platform where I feel I can fulfill my dreams and actually advocate it through not just therapy, but different other services such as work talks, community outreach programs, trainings, and so many so forth,
Right.
which is what in Emoticons also we offer.
Right.
So that's how I think slowly, in the beginning also, as I said, the dots started getting connected and I got into business. Though it was tough, but yeah.
To start something, of course, as I said, we need a good support system, right? Be it from family, be it from friends, be it a mentor for that.
Yeah.
And especially in mental health, it needs a stronger support system because you are supposed to be doing something in the society that's a taboo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, how has your support system been?
Thankfully, really well. Back then, when I thought of starting this, first of all, I was working. I had a stable job. I got placed through my college placement cell. And yeah, my parents raised an eyebrow first when I said that, I'm thinking of starting something of my own. And well, you studied psychology. Now you want to start a business and you have no family business background. So what? So that too, later when they got to know that the business into psychology or in mental health,
Right.
they had question marks. But they were very patient to understand what my ideas are. And they said that we will support you. We may not really guide you or mentor you because they do not belong to this field. But we can definitely support you in whatever ways you can. Just think through it. So they made me think about my own thoughts and then basically take a leap of faith also and then go ahead. And I had mentorship also available with me back then in the form of one of my professors who was also pursuing his PhD. And then I started assisting him, kind of started exploring whether this is something I'm really liking, not liking. So my support system was good. It's just that I faced some people's questions when they're like, "Oh, तो तुम आगे जाके पागलों के साथ काम करोगे?" So that was the question which kept on coming.
Right.
And back then, people also had one attitude, which is going to the therapist should be the last resort, or it's the field for people with luxury. So those were different kinds of stigmas which I had to face and break through those societal norms, and then actually test my own consistency in my own confidence and in my own thought process, whether am I ready to take this challenge, because it's not going to be easy.
Right.
I'm sure all of us as an entrepreneur witness it. Sounds very fancy and very nice, but behind the scenes, what kind of different challenges we go through and boundaries we break, as you said.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question precisely, I'm glad that I had a support in some of my parents.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of friends were there who also motivated, and mentors also were there who gave me that direction somewhere.
Yeah. You came up actually with a very nice point or a very intriguing point. When people tell you that तुम आगे जाके पागलों के साथ काम करोगी, I believe you started at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
You were just in your early 20s.
Yeah, super early.
Right? Yeah. So it must have been very difficult for you to keep yourself motivated.
Correct.
As well as answer back to those or explain it to those people if they mattered. Explain it to them why you're doing what you're doing. So how did you keep yourself motivated during that time?
So I wouldn't say that it was a smooth curve, okay, or a smooth graph, because I felt demotivated at times, to be very, very honest and blunt about it. And I had a thought of, why am I leaving my full paying salaried job and getting into something where I don't know how it's going to work, especially back then when the field was looked at more from the angle of the field where it's demanding a lot of empathy over commercial success.
Yeah.
Right. So business and psychology, this felt at that time a little contradictory or paradoxical, world.
Right.
But I like challenges. As I said, I'm a resilient person.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
कुछ करना है, so let's test it. So but I am also someone who is not like a high risk taking. You said it very nicely that to whoever needed an answer, I tried convincing them. While I could convince them, I think my confidence was getting built.
Okay.
And with some people, I chose to ignore that maybe my actions will speak later.
Right.
Maybe right now my words are not enough for them to understand. So let the actions speak louder than words. जो हम बोलते हैं.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah.
So I just needed the support from my parents and maybe a few of my close loved ones.
Right.
And thankfully I had it.
So when you have those guts to cross those boundaries,
Yeah.
there will be questions.
Correct.
And either you give in to those questions and feel demotivated and just not go ahead,
Yeah.
or you step up and answer those questions
Yeah.
and do what you want to.
Correct.
Right?
Especially because, you know, my father belonged to the government background.
Okay.
So my relatives, my extended family or his friends and all of it, they were like, my dad has a stable earning job, right? And now the daughter is trying to adventure into something where there is no guarantee of what she's doing. Yeah, no clarity of what is happening, because second is stability, first is clarity. So I was also like taking small steps to understand that, am I doing right thing? Like, oh, I have a dream, but is that dream really a practically possible dream?
Right.
So they used to ask questions के अरे पापा का तो पेंशन आता रहेगा, तुम क्या करोगे? So those questions were there, but thankfully my parents became a shield at that time, to some extent, yeah.
Right.
And they said, if you are confident, go ahead. If you need any funding also, then in our capacity possible, we will provide. But you would need to make sure that, you give it a deadline also to see that ऐसे ही नहीं कि 2 साल, 3 साल, 4 साल, you're just in a testing phase. Just give it some deadline and see whether it is possible. Understanding to what extent can I take risk was a calculative thought, I think.
Well, you also raised a good point there with that, and people think therapy or taking help is the last resort. That is one thing that you said. And the second thing you said, it's a luxury. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
While I feel that first is not something that I agree with. So I also have my mental health journey.
Correct.
And in that journey, I've come across people who can only afford them if they are financially super well to do, right? So I wouldn't say it's a completely wrong thing, and I believe maybe emoticons is one of the
Right.
one of the 10% of the organization that is actually thinking of providing it to everyone, and making it available for everyone. But not many organizations are doing that because it is too costly.
I definitely resonate with you with an idea, because I myself felt that while somewhere I want to start this for an accessibility, if I forget the aspect of affordability, these two things are not really happening, right?
Right.
So yes, we do emphasis on how affordability, accessibility, and yet quality can come hand in hand, and then cater to the clientele base, right? And second thing is, we need to think a little further, wherein जैसे मान लो कि I have certain physical elements and I keep on ignoring them. Don't visit to the doctor, don't go for any help or any checkup. One fine day, when I'll visit a doctor or a hospital, let's say, बहुत लंबा bill आएगा, right?
Yeah.
So it means you will be paying one time
Right.
such a huge bill, okay? But instead, what will help is if I do periodical checkups and if I look at it as a more of a prevention. Okay, so
Yeah.
if we start looking at therapy in such a manner wherein I can go to the therapist in order for me to not further depend on medically expensive treatments. Okay, yeah, because it can be expensive and it is not possible for everyone to afford it.
Right.
So later, for my own safety and mental well-being, it's important that I start taking those steps right now. So instead of looking at it as a one-time cost, it's more like a EMIs that I'm paying
Right.
towards my better well-being. So that perspective also helped many of my friends or many of, let's say, people I go and advocate this or talk about it. That, don't look at therapy as, oh, I have to go and spend like, thousands of rupees,
Yeah.
because it's going to stop you from spending later lakhs of rupees.
So, moving on to the next segment, the mental health landscape. So, this is actually a very interesting topic for me, and I would really like to understand from you what are the contributing factors to mental health issues. How does technology play a role in that?
I'm sure this is not a very new, noble answer because everyone know it, but maybe let's just highlight it that we all as an individual have too many roles to play.
Right.
We have a role to play in our family, in our job, in our social life with respect to our health, right? Whenever there is an imbalance,
Right.
the ecosystem gets disturbed. And that's when I think this imbalance leads to any sort of mental elements or strain, right? Another thing which I feel becomes challenging or important to understand is, are we really getting into the zone of or in the era of instant gratifications?
Okay.
That there is a less of a tolerance of the discomfort and everyone wants to be in the comforting zone. For example, you asked a question like how technology is affecting, it can be a double sword. So it can also be a boon and it can also be a curse at the same
Right.
time. Talking about the curse aspect, I think platforms like social media and Instagram and YouTube and everything, they can perhaps at times create a very unrealistic standard for one person, and then person is trying to match himself herself with that standard. Maybe he doesn't need to, he is just perfect in his own ways, but this unrealistic standard are somewhere coming up. The overuse of it is also somewhere making a person comparing himself with other people in a way and becoming dependable on those platforms for feeling good, which is affecting a lot in their personal connection, right? Like you may be aware that sometimes we meet in a group of friends, and even if there are 5 people sitting, maybe 4 people out of 5 are there on their phone.
Right.
So it's actually discouraging the personal bonds and that sense of collaboration and communication in those setups. So that way I feel it's affecting really. If we really not, if we look at technology not controlling us, but we actually having a control over technology on our use, then technology can also be boom, wherein awareness can be spread. That's exactly how it has been helpful, and this taboo and stigma is kind of reducing with this awareness being spread. It helps in promoting different ideas. It gives one person a voice to share their maybe opinions and their ideas. I think in a way, it also allows you to connect with people across the world.
Right.
So that way, yes, it also can be helpful. And in many ways, it can also be difficult for you to rely on it, especially when you become addictive to it. Because addiction to screen, addiction to overuse can actually not just affect your mental health, but your sleep, your physical health, your overall relations and friendships and everything.
I've heard this a lot of times that social media adds on to the mental health issues. Like it pushes you towards instant gratification, which is another reason for mentally breaking down at times, right? But don't you think social media is also a place where people are like right now the way people can talk about it,
Correct.
mental health?
Yeah, of course.
So so it's been, as you said, it's been a boon as well as a curse.
See, when you say boon and curse, yes, but the choice lies with you whether to turn it into a boon or curse, right? Like we need technology. We cannot be like, oh, let's go to the era of video, that age. But as we are progressing, let's not allow technology to overpower and drive your emotions. see, for example, when you're scrolling reels, right, you're exposing yourself to such a variety of content. Some reels perhaps trigger or instigate some sort of a thrill in you. Another one instigates some sadness in you. So within just those few seconds, you're actually exposed to the variety of information which might be contradictory. So emotionally, there is a lot of up and down that you are going through without even recognizing that you are going through these emotions.
Right.
So can really affect if you let it affect you. But if you're disciplined about your use of technology or social media, then you can use to the best of its knowledge. You perhaps can make the most out of it. So that's where it depends a lot, largely on you, how you use it.
Yeah.
Right.
Moving on to mental health at workplace. That's been a very talked about subject.
And that was the theme of this year's World Mental Health Day. Yeah.
Okay. So I would really love to know, how do you maintain your company culture to make sure that the environment does not get toxic?
So very important aspect for me is to keep myself in a constant check that I am regulated, right? And I'm taking care of my mental health, because in a way I'm going to be modeling that for my people who are going to be working with me, right? So it shouldn't be like I'm preaching something and following something else. So I keep that as a important checkpoint for me. Secondly, in the organization, there's a culture of transparency. So right from an intern to someone who is maybe, let's say, at the advisory level, everyone has a voice, which means everyone can come and share about how they're feeling.
Yep.
And sharing all the negative emotions or feelings also has been very much normalized.
Okay.
Right? Which means as much as you're excited about your day and something very happening that has happened in your life, please feel free to also talk about the days when you're feeling very low and sad. Yeah. So we keep priority where, yes, work is important. So your professional growth is important, but your personal well-being is also important. Maybe I have a selfish motive behind it, because if at all I do not look after or prioritize their mental health, I know it's going to affect their creativity, their productivity, the way they work in a collaboration and in the team, which is in turn going to affect the organization. The ownership that they feel while doing the work will automatically be gone. And for me, ownership is very important when you're engaged in any work tasks with me. So we periodically have different support groups, discussions, open discussions, and obviously some fun elements in it is something which you yourself perhaps may have seen it. Like there's a lot of humor that we always talk. There are no like all the time serious discussions happening.
Right.
So I think it's not a big deal in that case.
So what would you advise to the new founders, the new entrepreneurs? What should their approach be to maintain a healthy environment at workplace?
Walk the talk, because many of them play a strong leadership values only through their words, but not through their actions. And I think your actions and your values need to be in alignment with each other. So you first be grounded and clear with what and how you want the culture to be built, and see whether that's something which is actually coming across through your own personalities and behaviors. And then see what kind of a match that actually you can make, because somewhere an employee and employer, it's like a matchmaking relationship, right? So you need to see how that partnership can be really compatible, and not like two parallel lines. So finding that compatibility where certain adjustments are there, certain sort of compromises are there, but you're ready to make those things for each other. And that's when you do give to your employees, they also give back a lot. So it's always a give and take relationship. It's not always one way growth. They learn something from you and you learn something from them. So having that attitude of that they are not my people who are just working for me, but even they are here to work and learn from me.
Right.
That I think would be a helpful idea to carry.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
So there was this organization recently in the news, and they were planning to start a mental health leave policy.
Mm.
Okay. As much so they did a test trial, and what they saw was a lot of people were abusing that facility.
Yeah.
Because for mental health, you just need to come to the office and say that I'm not feeling mentally well.
Yeah.
Or you just need to call your boss and say I'm not in the right state of mind. As much as it is good for people who are really going through mental health issues, a lot of people take advantage of it. So you will need to find that gray area, I feel, wherein you do not let others take advantage of you as a leader, but you are also empathetic towards your employees. So, what would your advice be to find that gray area?
For me, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to give advice on this, but for me, it's like I keep changing my hats. So when I know that someone is just trying to take an advantage of it, my therapist hat goes on, and then I know that this is just an excuse, or this is more like an effort to take an advantage rather than genuine need. So that's where I think our therapy skills come in a picture. That's where our own skills of counselor help us to understand that whether the person is actually in need. And somewhere I think we cannot control it all. To be very honest and sadly, that's the reality. It has to be at the end personal responsibility.
Yeah.
You can be just a well-wisher of them and you can always promote the right culture. But certain things are beyond your control.
Right.
Just need to let go of that control and correct everything also is helpful personally for every individual.
Moving on to our next segment, as an entrepreneur, myself, and just starting off right now, I have already started feeling how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. And right, there's a lot of times you feel demotivated, there are a lot of times you feel lost, and there are a lot of times you start questioning yourself if you're doing the right thing or you're just doing because you are stubborn. A lot of times you stop believing in yourself, and all of these questions they affect mental health, right? And since you have been in business for the last 10 years, I would like tips from you how you take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
And we would also like to understand what is the basic health check when it comes to mental health that we can follow every day just to make sure that we are mentally doing fine.
While the question sounds too interesting and easy, but the answer is not, because everyone's tips and everyone's ways of taking care of their mental health are very personalized and they're very customized. That's exactly what we do in the therapy sessions also. So I'll speak more of myself and what I try to check, or rather I try to do to keep it under the check. The very first important thing which I have taken a charge of is to understand that it's the game of my thoughts, right? So whatever and however I'm feeling is because I'm thinking in a certain manner, right? So I would like to make sure that I feel this empowerment within me. Listen, it's under my control. No one else can really affect me, or no one else can really provoke certain emotion, not provoke, but let's say cause certain emotions within me, if at all I do not want to feel that way, right? So taking that charge really helps me, because then I can think further about the solutions. Okay. Honestly speaking, I feel it's about very small and daily rituals that you can curate and create for yourself towards your better self-care. And those small things could include, for me, they are connecting with my loved ones, taking nature walks, being in touch with the nature and the different kinds of hobbies that I like, something that boosts my creativity, something that I enjoy as a mode of expression. So writing or dancing or painting, mindfulness is something which helps me too. And for that, one important reminder which may help you and other people watching this is remind yourself that you are a human being before human doing. You're constantly doing something or the other, and we don't really take those pauses and find a space to relax and do nothing. And our nowadays doing nothing has become using social media. Now so I'm just relaxing and I'm scrolling social media. But well, that's not really doing nothing. That's not really a state of being. Okay, so I remind myself that let me be first in order for me to do something.
Right.
And what also I believe has helped me, and I've learned hard way, is allowing the space and room for imperfections for myself. When I allow myself to be imperfect and not 100% perfect at things, I become more kind to my mind. That's helpful.
Nowadays, I keep wanting to do a lot of things. These days, I voluntarily keep my phone aside for let's say 3-4 hours.
Fantastic.
Even though they keep running in my mind that I might get an email, I might get a call, but I keep telling myself that it's not urgent right now.
Correct.
And right now, what I need is some time alone and some time with my loved ones. But I'm finding it quite difficult.
If you crack this, then trust me, you're already halfway there, because this is the most difficult thing to do nowadays, in fact, but it's most needed to.
Yeah.
And holding the temptation back, like, I go and check that email, that one notification which has come.
Right.
I guess if you're able to, hold yourself back and not give in to that temptation in that moment, that's really glad. I think everyone should really follow the step.
Do that. They do it. But it is difficult. It is easier said than done.
Of course. But entrepreneurs don't take easy steps always, do we?
Right.
Hard steps.
Either I did not do this when I was doing a job.
Yeah.
But now I know pressure is just going to keep increasing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be exponentially increasing.
Yeah.
Right. So as much as I have had my journey with mental health,
Yes.
I know I am vulnerable.
Yes.
Right. So I would need to keep a check on myself. So that I don't fall back into that zone where it'll just start questioning myself and it'll be difficult for me to come back from there.
Correct.
And so I'm trying my best.
You are doing, I think, what it really is important to do, which is what we say, precaution is better than cure.
Yeah.
Right? So I definitely agree that everyone need to focus on and find out their ways of how they can self-regulate and work on themselves by balancing life.
Right.
And preventing themselves from falling into something which is more fatal and more maybe difficult to come back and back.
As entrepreneurs or as people, we have certain ingrained qualities, right? Some qualities are good and bad at the same time. Yeah, like being a perfectionist, is good when you're doing something and you want to give it your best. Being a perfectionist is fine. You don't have any other dependency. It's all on you. Then it's a good thing that you're paying attention to detail and all. But when you're in a team, being a perfectionist only gives you anxiety. This is from my experience.
Okay.
That it gives me a lot of anxiety when I ask somebody to do something and it keeps running in my head. Are they doing it right? Are they doing it right? So what are these some of the things in you that you think are both a boon and a curse?
Okay, I have to talk about this on camera, right? Okay, so I think a lot of things.
As a therapist, I don't think you've been vulnerable in front of camera.
No, it's not about being vulnerable. Anywhere, I would like to be myself rather than showing something else. So being genuine to my own self too. But yes, I get vulnerable. I cry. I also get angry. Yes, I'm a therapist at the same time, right?
It is that. So that's a myth buster.
Yeah,
because we think therapists.
How can you get angry? You are a therapist.
And when I have had my mental health journey, I used to think, how is this person who is giving that much of a mental space to me, going back home and not thinking about it, because uh, I was I was all over the place, right? So it must be difficult for that person, and we don't think that that person is a human too, right? So when we think, अच्छा उसको भी रोना आता होगा, like what would she do if she उसको तो mental health problem है, नहीं आता होगा. So thanks for busting that myth.
No, it's definitely, we do go through these emotions. We also feel vulnerable. It is definitely better equipped with certain skills and techniques and tools that we can handle it in a more healthier way rather than getting into certain unhealthy habits and ways.
Right.
So definitely.
Correct. Coming back to the question, yes, some of your traits that is a curse and a boon.
So the first thing is, it helps me to actually be aware about it. And right now, when you're saying it, I'm simultaneously introspecting that maybe the empathy is something that I see myself as an empathetic person. If I forget to be empathetic towards myself, then that's a curse. Because in order to be empathetic towards others, I may sometimes put myself as a backseat, right? At the backseat. And hence, that might be difficult, that I may put others first and then put myself.
Right.
So I'm just thinking while you're actually asking this question, like what else could be that double sword for me? You already mentioned one, which is perfectionism. How it's similar with me at times. What you go through or what you felt is something I've really felt that through.
Right.
I'm not sure actually if that's a double sword, but because I am able to regulate myself better, and because I'm able to handle my emotions better, at times I may take it for granted for my loved ones that they are also able to handle it, because I handle, so they can also handle, but forgetting the fact that maybe I'm better skilled than they are. So one thing I feel I could think about is not taking that for granted actually, and allowing them to make mistakes too, not expecting them that just because their daughter, their wife is mental health professional, they also should be equipped with the skills of dealing with challenges. You just made me think actually. I actually want to go back and think about it more.
I'm glad I'm making you think.
Of course. Oh yeah, we need that. Perhaps I will try to find this answer, be more introspective in this.
Bill, I keep thinking about these things. I'm actually being more reflective.
Correct.
Now. That this was not something I used to think earlier.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now that you're talking, I can think about one more thing, which is because we are in the field, we are constantly thinking. Let me talk about myself. I'm constantly thinking something or the other as mental health professional and as an entrepreneur too. Sometimes that can be a slippery slope. That means you're constantly thinking, and brain is just not getting enough rest, right? So your body might be resting, but your brain might not be. Because I've seen myself at times in the dreams also actually finding the solutions that I'm looking forward for.
I can relate to this. Yes.
So that's something which just clicked me while you are sharing.
It is actually a very interesting thing. So the other day I was thinking of a script. Okay, and I was not able to find the right zone for that script, and somehow I slept off, and the next day when I woke up, I had that script in mind.
The aha moment.
Yeah, and I remember I got the tip off in my dream.
Wow. So your unconscious is still working.
Right.
I don't know if you're actually getting a quality sound sleep at that time. But that could be a slippery slope is what I think we need to think about.
That's true. Yeah. I would like to understand what do you think is the future of mental health?
Very bright.
Very.
everyone. And
Actually, sorry for interrupting. It is bright because people are becoming more aware. That is very true. Very true.
that's actually the shadow answer to it, that I see that the world is not too far from imagining schools, corporates advocating mental health right from the beginning.
Right.
Right? And I envision a world wherein it's natural to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
It's natural for you to take care of your physical health.
Yeah.
Right? So it should be more of a transforming from shame to act of strength. So
Yeah.
that's something which I feel how the future of mental well-being, mental health is going to be and should look like.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We still have a lot of questions, but I'm not sure if we have that much time.
Part 2.
So we will cut this short now, but we will certainly come up with part 2. And you would be more than happy if you could come back as a guest.
Yes, I would love to, and perhaps with the introspection work that you have given me, Rafi, I'll come back with that. So,
Yeah.
Also, thank you for having me here. Before we conclude this, I have a question for you. You made me think a lot. I want to ask you actually some question. How did you think about getting into the podcast setup or in this conversation, and having a mental health that's a professional on board for it?
Okay, this is I think a 3-tier answer.
Oh, interesting.
So first, why the podcast? I think everybody is a story that is waiting to be said.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know you for a very long time.
You've witnessed every step and every journey.
Yes, and I know your story has been inspiring for me. So I wanted people to hear your story and get inspired as much as I did. Why mental health? Again, it's a 2-tier answer. One, because mental health as a subject is very, very, very close to me. And it's been like that ever since I was a kid. My uncle was a psychologist. So he was a lot into, so he was a very renowned psychologist. So he used to make me sit and talk to me a lot about psychology. I understood nothing at that time. But that somehow kept ringing in my ears. Okay, what is it? I want to know about psychology. So as I grew up, I started reading about it. So that has been psychology. Has been one of my core subjects personally. Yeah, I have not studied psychology, but I love psychology as a subject.
Yeah.
And second, because I wanted you in the podcast, because as I said, your story has been very inspiring, and you have been in the mental health profession for quite a long time, actually 10 years. And
Yes, and we are celebrating that.
year. Yes. So yeah, I wanted people to see your journey and learn how similar yet different is the mental health industry.
Yeah. Thank you for being so thoughtful and considering having this podcast on mental health. And I would love to come back as a guest sometime.
Thank you. We load it down.
Please book it. Note it down in your calendar.
Thanks a lot for coming in. Finding time to do this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad that after a very long time, I got a platform where I can be just genuinely open and naked about my thoughts and talking to someone who's truly dear to me. So yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.